How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Ganji. Welcome to another episode of Chair Talk. Guys, I'm going to break down the Savannah Guthrie interview. Now, I may mention Savannah Guthrie a lot because she is the one being interviewed, but obviously Guthrie is representing her family. So in some cases, when I'm talking about Savannah Guthrie, I do mean her family as well. Her family is not secondary to this issue. They're all in it together. So sometimes I may slip because it's Savannah that's right in front of me when we're breaking down the video. I also want to mention that I may interrupt the video a few times. One, I do want to provide some commentary. Two, but it also protects me from copyright infringements. It kind of falls into fair use when I'm able to interrupt and use the video with commentary. So I would recommend, if you haven't seen this video in its entirety fully played out, you need to watch that first before you watch this video, because it deserves that respect. I've watched it a few times already, and it's emotional to me because, you see these events from a distance, and then you connect. But once you zoom in and you're brought right next to the people that are going through it, it just adds so much of an impact. I mean, now this is not just the news telling us. This is not just the sheriff telling us. This is Savannah. This is a lot different than when she was speaking to the kidnappers. This is an interview where you see vulnerability and strength. And I will tell you something. What I've learned today is that you can't have strength without vulnerability. This is a family that's in agony, as she says. They want answers. And, we can't really imagine what she's going through, nor will we say we could. But with that said, we're here to walk alongside her. And to be honest with you, Savannah doing this interview didn't have to happen. I think she did it because she knows the community cares. And I think part of this interview is not just so much about bringing awareness to Nancy's case, keeping the case still alive, but to also let those who have been connected to this case understand a little more of what the family is going through, because they've been kind of taking the journey with her. And I love the fact that Savannah is using people that she worked with because they are a family. I think this interview is so great because it's not a reporter chasing after updates, even though there's some in here. I get it. And you can see the news running with it. Oh, hey, the back door was open. Or, hey, she left in her pajamas with no shoes. Or it looks like the Nest camera and the blood was already noticed by the family. It's not. This is purely about Savannah and her family. And the young lady doing this interview, the one conducting it, she didn't stray. I'm sure they agreed upon the questions, but she stayed within the area that I think they both felt was the best way to be respectful to the situation. And it's emotional. I'm going to play it. I'm going to stop it a few times. But again, please, guys, if you want to see the video without the interruptions, please go to another channel. Then you can always come back, but you really need to watch it first without the interruptions. This is not me breaking down the video. I'm a little person here. This is not really my message. I just would like to break down the video, maybe share some thoughts and have a nice dialogue that shows respect to the situation, because you never know what can come from these dialogues as long as we remain respectful. But it's still not my story to tell. So please, I would look at the video in its entirety uninterrupted first, and you could always come back later and check out the video if you want to. But if you're here just to watch the video, this may not be the best channel for it, because I am going to interrupt it a few times. Respectfully.
Take me back to the day. It was, I guess, a normal weekend for you.
Yeah.
The weekend your mom went missing. Tell me what you were doing and what happened.
Well, I had given Mike for Christmas a boys' trip to go play tennis. And so he had been gone for the weekend. So I took my kids actually to Carson's. Mm-hmm. So we had a beautiful, fun night together. And then I came home, and really it just got home at the same time that Mike came home. We were just saying hi, putting down our stuff, and the kids were running around. And my sister called me, and I said, "Is everything okay?" Mm-hmm. And she said, no. She said, Mom's missing. And I said, what?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? She said, she's gone. And she was in a panic. I was in a panic. I'm like, call 911.
Yeah.
She's like, I did. We've called them. They're here. And we thought that she must have had like some kind of medical episode in the night, and that somehow, the paramedics had come because the back doors were propped open, and that didn't make any sense. We thought maybe they came and there was a stretcher and they took her out the back. But her phone was there and her purse was there and all her things. And it just didn't make any sense. So, Annie and Tommy had already called all the hospitals, but then I'm like, I'm going to call the hospital. So then I started calling the hospitals, and the police were there and talking to her at the same time. And it was just chaos and disbelief.
Within hours, Savannah was making the long journey home to Tucson.
I just want to mention something here real quick. It's when they went through the disbelief at the very beginning. I don't think, even if the signs were obvious, I don't think you're going to think of kidnapping or abduction. That's why it made sense for them to think, well, maybe she's at the hospital. But it's the brother, Cameron, who grounds them a bit. And you'll see that as I play it forward. But, I mean, think about this, guys. Your mom's missing. I mean, is the first thing that's going to come to your head going to be a kidnapping, or is it going to be a medical concern? So, and then imagine what happens when you find out that there's no hospital that has her. And then, in the back of your mind, somewhere along the line, there is that dangerous what if, but you keep it as far back as you can. I mean, I'm telling you, that's how it works. You keep it as far back as you can. You don't allow it to surface until someone comes up that you trust and love and says, hey, what you don't want to admit, that's what it could be. So sometimes our own protection, our own disbelief is our protection. It truly is. Our own disbelief is our protection. But that doesn't mean we're foolish. That doesn't mean that we don't know what's happening. It just means we may not be ready to accept what has happened. And by the way, acceptance isn't agreement. It doesn't mean you agree with it. It just means that you accept it, and now you have to move over from where that anchor is set. So again, I think the disbelief was there, but there also could have been some obvious signs, but you don't think that. You don't think the worst. It's there. It's in the back. But you fight that disbelief becomes what you utilize to push that what if back until finally either one, you don't have the strength anymore, or two, and in this case here, someone just pretty much who is more upfront and kind of willing to see things the way it is, who doesn't push that what if back, basically makes it the anchor. And then that's when you have to deal with the emotion of that anchor being placed.
You saw Annie and Cam when you got
Yeah.
to their house. Tell me about that moment.
Just disbelief and hugging each other.
Yeah.
And I think we were on the phone with the sheriff and trying to, really make clear from the very early moments, Annie and Tommy were saying, this isn't that case that
Right.
you are used to where someone wanders off. She can't wander off.
Mm-hmm.
My mom, she was in tremendous pain.
Yeah.
Her back was very bad. She was trying to, on a good day, she could walk down to the mailbox and get the mail, but most days not. So there was no wander off. And the doors were propped open.
Yeah.
And there was blood on the front doorstep. And the Ring camera had been yanked off.
Yeah.
And so we were saying, this is
Do something.
this is not
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
This isn't something is very wrong here.
Yeah. Did you guys talk about what possibly could have happened? Like, what could have happened? What went down? Did you?
I think my brother, I mean, my siblings are so amazing. My brother, you know, he spent his career in the military and worked in intelligence and is a fighter pilot and is brilliant. And he saw very clearly right away what this was.
Yeah.
And even on the phone, when I called him, he knew.
He knew.
And he said, I think she's been kidnapped for ransom. And I said,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Well, why? What? And then, I mean, it sounds so like, how dumb could I be? But I didn't want to believe. I just said, do you think because of me? And he said, I'm sorry, sweetie, but yeah, maybe. But I knew that.
You did.
I hope not. I mean, we still don't know.
Mhm.
Honestly, we don't know anything.
No.
We don't know anything. So I don't know
Yeah.
that it's because she's my mom and somebody thought, oh, that girl, that lady has money. We can make a quick buck. I mean, that would make sense, but we don't know. But yeah, that's probably, which is too much to bear. To think that I brought this to her bedside, that it's because of me. And I just say, I'm so sorry, Mommy. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to my sister and my brother and my kids and my nephew and Tommy and my brother-in-law. I'm like, so sorry. I'm so sorry. If it is me, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. We want to thank all of you for the prayers for our beloved mom.
In the initial days, you and your sister and brother.
I just want to stop for a second. So obviously there's the guilt, and that also the guilt obviously could be more powerful when you don't have answers, when you're left not knowing. And then you'll see that play out in this part of the interview, but also in the second one. And that's why the need for answers are so relevant, because the guilt that she could be holding right now is a weight. It's a tremendous weight that no one can remove. Nobody can remove. Sometimes even answers won't be able to remove that, because obviously if she gets the answer, and the answer is, you know, maybe not so much what happened to Nancy, but the end result, then you live with the burden of still thinking that you are somewhat responsible for the loss of your mom. And again, that there's nothing anybody can say to you at all that will ever get you to be able to lift that burden. This picture here of Savannah, this is guilt, maybe even frustration, but this is guilt. And it's guilt that really is not warranted. The biggest concern I have when it comes to guilt is it shifts blame. And it puts blame where it doesn't belong. And in this case here, it puts blame right in her heart. That's what it is. The blame right now that's making her cry sits right in her heart, right where she loves her mom the most. And sometimes people do that when they don't have the answers and they need accountability. They need something and they don't know where to look. So when they can't point outwards, some of them start looking inwards. It's natural because I cannot not have an answer. So if I can't find somebody accountable, then what did I do? What could I have done differently? And then they internalize the blame. And then they live with it. And that's why she needs answers. Oh, man.
We want to thank all of you for the prayers for our beloved mom.
In the initial days, you and your sister and brother sat together. In all the despair, you sat and managed to think of words to say. How were you able to do that in that moment?
Well, my siblings are amazing. And we are a unit. And I talked about how brilliant my brother is, but my sister is equally brilliant and also has special powers of intuition and faith and language and depth and heart. And I feel like we came together with all these beautiful gifts that came from our mom and dad and from God. And somehow together we did our best to come up with the words to say. And I haven't posted one thing or said one thing that the three of us haven't decided together. It is surreal.
By the way, you could tell that she's adamant with that thought. When she says, I haven't posted one thing that we did not agree on, I did not post one thing. That's a thought that's important to her, and that's a thought that she wanted to get across. She literally hammers it down. I just want to show you that again.
And I haven't posted one thing or said one thing that the three of us haven't decided together. It is surreal. How is it possible that we are having to make a video speaking to a kidnapper who took an 84-year-old woman in the dead of night in her pajamas with no shoes, without her medicine, this little person, and to beg for mercy.
In the days that followed, multiple notes demanding payment were sent to various media outlets.
I just want to add one more thing. So you could see she probably, in my mind, is reliving the imagery of how she visions what could have happened to her mom. She puts her mom on the frailer side, little woman, 84, medication, in her pajamas with no shoes on. And then you got the dead of the night, the horror, and she's living with those images on those extremes. I mean, she's very vivid when she says the words like the bedside. She tries to imagine, I'm assuming, being her mom in that moment, but that may be hard for her to do. So I think what she does is she removes herself and sees it from like a third person perspective. So imagine if you partner those images with guilt. So the images of the horror connected with the frailty. And then on top of that is guilt that she has put herself in, the blame. Could you imagine how that must feel?
the ransom notes or ransom requests came, did you believe those to be real?
There are a lot of different notes, I think, that
Yeah.
came. And I think most of them, it's my understanding, are not real. And I didn't see them. But, you know, a person that would send a fake ransom note really has to look deeply at themselves.
Yeah.
To a family in pain. But I believe the 2 notes that we received, that we responded to, I tend to believe those are real.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
When the Ring camera video surfaced and you could see who that person was, just tell me what you thought when you saw those images of the person who took your mother.
I mean, it's just absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
It's just totally terrifying. And I can't imagine that is who she saw standing over her bed.
Yeah.
I can't. It's too much.
Yeah.
And I'm glad and grateful to the investigators and the technology companies that were able to find that video. So I hope, at least with people of good heart and compassion, stop the irresponsible and cruel speculation that had started to swirl.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
I'm glad that people saw
Yeah.
what came to our door.
Yeah. When you talk about the cruel speculation, the whispers, the innuendo that it was somebody in your family, how did you weather that?
It's unbearable.
Yeah.
And it piles pain upon pain. There are no words. There are no words. I don't understand. I'll never understand. And no one took better care of my mom than my sister and brother-in-law. And no one protected my mom more than my brother. And we love her, and she is our shining light. She's our matriarch. She's all we have.
Savannah and her family stayed together in Arizona for weeks as the media coverage grew more intense.
I think that was a great question by the reporter, because I wanted to know how that affected the family, and I'm hoping people are watching this and realizing that these speculations, how it does affect the family, and for the news reporters that jumped with that story and still claim the story after it was confirmed by the PD that wasn't the case, that they just stop. You know, you can't put out these crazy theories like that and not expect it to affect the family. You're entering their lives without any permission, and you're trying to tell their story without any permission, and then you're disrespectful with it. I think that was a great question. I think that was a needed question, and I think that's something that is a lesson for all of us doing true crime and the media as well. You don't have free range on people's lives, all because they've been made public. These are people's lives.
We had to move houses many times because people came, and not everyone is respectful, unfortunately. you know?
Mhm.
There was a night we had to leave in the dark in the desert, holding hands, me and my sister and brother and I, get into a car waiting for us to, because the people outside were closing in. So we found a place that was safe, and then we couldn't really leave too much. So like those days are a blur.
Yeah.
Crying and praying.
Now, when she says the people outside, I'm going to make an assumption. I'm assuming she's the media. She's going to say the media, but she wants to be very careful when saying that, because obviously a lot of her peers are in the media. So she doesn't want to say something that's totally disrespectful. I think, to be honest with you, maybe there's only a selected few. But I could assume that when she says the people outside that were coming in would be the media, online sleuths. So not just the media, but true crimers.
How did your family feel about the way the investigation was conducted?
Well, it's still going.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people have worked tirelessly. And we see that. But we need answers. We cannot be at peace without knowing. And someone can do the right thing. And it is never too late to do the right thing. And our hearts are focused on that.
I think where Savannah ended that, it's not too late to do the right thing, is really, I think, the intent from the beginning.
Yeah.
I think she was, a fantasy was that someone sees it, someone who saw someone who knows someone who will say something.
Right. Yeah.
Because, you know, I think she really, this is all about bringing Nancy
Well, it's still an
home.
open case. We're 54 days in. The bravery that she's showing in this interview is not to shine a light on herself, but to remind people that if you have anything to do with this, if you know anything,
Yes.
you firmly believe that somebody does know something, it's not too late.
Yes.
We can still bring Nancy home if you call the
And
number.
one of the things Savannah actually said to me was, she said, please remind everybody that there are lots of people
Yes.
who are missing. And that's why her family has donated to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And she wanted me to underscore that, because she, you know, she wanted to be clear, like, this is also about a lot of people who are missing. But you guys know how strong Savannah is. I have never, I mean, I knew she was strong, but not, I didn't know how much until yesterday. Yeah, when I sat with her.
Just of the takeaways there, the fact that our dear friend would blame herself,
Oh, that was the hardest.
That was the hardest part.
would blame herself for any of this when it was some sicko or sickos out there who would kidnap a woman in the middle of the night. It just, but the only SG could sit there and do that.
Yeah.
Because of the faith that she has,
Yes.
the faith that Nancy instilled in her.
And I think we're going to talk about that, Al. In fact, in the next hour, we're going to talk a little bit more about Nancy and the faith that kind of brought her to this point. So our love and prayers with Savannah.
Again, we want to mention again the phone number to call. If you have any information about this case, that phone number is right there on your screen. 1-800-CALL-FBI.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the
All right, guys, I want to show you guys the second video, because there's two. I have it on my post-it board. This one's a little short. It's 12
You
minutes.
speak about your
I want to mention one thing. You noticed in the, she said that they're working tirelessly, the law enforcement working tirelessly. And then she went and she says, but they need answers. And when she said that, that's when the dialogue shifted to the outside. I don't think she was, even though she wants answers, don't get me wrong, I don't think that was an attack or saying they're not doing enough in the law enforcement circle. She acknowledged that they're working tirelessly. It looks like they're doing whatever they can, but maybe they're exhausted or they have dead ends. And now that next part where we need answers was to push to the public, was asking the public, come on, someone's got to know, do the right thing. You know, that's how I saw it.
You speak about your mom always in the present tense.
Yeah. I mean, she is present tense to me.
Do you feel her or have you heard her any moments?
Yeah, a little bit.
Tell me about your mommy. Just tell me about her.
My mom she's incredible. She's resolute and strong. Quiet strength, quiet faith, but hard fought. She's funny and a little mischievous, I would say, in her humor. She's a noble creature. She does what's right. She walks in faith, but not a fake, pious, put on faith, but like a grounded, earthy, she fought for it faith.
When you posted Please Pray in the beginning, the ocean of love and prayers, did you feel that? Did you sense what was happening?
I do feel prayers, I do. I believe that. I think she would have been just amazed, just truly amazed.
One of the images that stayed with me through all of this was you and Annie and Tommaso walking up and looking at the flowers and at the notes. As I saw that, I thought, oh, I wonder if Savannah's going inside and what that must have felt like for you to go inside of your mom's, your childhood home, your mom's house.
Yeah, I mean, this is the house that we grew up in. It's really the only house I've ever known and remember. So we moved there when I was about 4, I think. It's the house where I came home on a Friday night at 16, and my mom and sister were on the couch praying and told me that my father had died. It's the house where all of our memories are, good and bad. So it's hallowed ground. My mom loved and treasured that house. In good years and lean years, they were able to hold on to that house. That's my mom's safe haven. It's really hard to see that violated and the terror that she must have felt is unbearable.
See how she goes back to the terror, and then when she recalls it, I think it becomes so overwhelming. Then you partner that with the guilt that she may feel. I can't even imagine what she feels, because every time, I guess when they talk about the house or something, it triggers the horror that she feels her mother felt, and then I'm sure that eventually partners with guilt. So when you see her overwhelmed with emotion, it's all these different emotions flooding at once, but that guilt is extremely a powerful emotion.
It's unbearable.
Tell me, while you were spending all this time in Tucson, your kids were home, what do they know?
Well, it's so hard with kids because, you want to protect them. Dale would write me all the time, Mama, any leads? Any leads? Do you hear anything? Any hope? And I think that, we tried to talk to them and try to give them a little more certainty than we have, to let them grieve. And for my little nephew Olmo too, he's there's just a way in which this is even so much harder on Annie and Tommy and Olmo because they're there.
They're there. Yeah.
And they were there every day for my mom. They made it possible for her to stay in the house we grew up in that she loved so much. I think she always stayed in that house because I think she still felt my father there.
So can you imagine the people that have been painting the narrative, let's say in Ashley Banfield's case, the narrative of Annie and Tommaso, and these are the people that were there for her mom, was there every day, and then you put them on the opposite side of the spectrum. You know, these are people that are probably the most affected. Even though Savannah's definitely affected, don't get me wrong, she's saying, no, it's Tommaso and Ann and their child because they were at their house all the time. They lived closer, but they also made it possible for the mom to stay in her residence, to stay where she wanted to be. That was the gift that they gave back to the mom. And that also gave Savannah, I'm sure, some level of freedom. And then to know that Tommaso and Annie are pulled into this only because they're the closest in proximity. That's where I think it becomes extremely devastating. And I'm glad that she was able to put that all out there. So I'm wondering the people that have said anything about that, I wonder how does that resonate with them?
All our memories. You know, let her have her space. And there's just a way in which this is just even more excruciating for them and all that they've been through.
I know it was a hard decision for you, and I know you told me about this, was coming back here, leaving Arizona to come back to New York. Why was that so difficult, that choice?
I looked out the window of the airplane and just thought, where are you?
Yeah.
That desert, that beautiful desert that she loves. Where are you?
Yeah.
How could I leave you? But my mom taught me a lot about grief. Our family knows grief. My father passed when I was 16 years old. He was only 49. It was a shock. And I remember my mom saying in those early days when Daddy died, like, you have to get up and decide and do. Just decide and do. And she had read that in a book that meant a lot to her and her grief. And so I always remember that. So I'm trying to decide and do. Just get up and decide and do every day. You know, I've felt terrible grief, and I felt unfathomable love and comfort. The goodness and kindness of God is remarkable, and in equal measure to my sorrow. Wow. She showed us how to survive the unimaginable. When she lost my dad, she was 46 years old. She had 3 kids. She had never worked outside the home. She had to get up. She had to find a job. She had to mother 2 teenagers and 1 young adult just starting making his way into the world. She took care of her mother, her brother who had Down syndrome. She invited to come live with us. She worked part-time to make ends kind of meet. She found a way, another job, a job she turned into a full-time job, a job she turned into a career. She had a second life of purpose and meaning. She had a million friends. She stayed strong for us. She was resolute. She was real. She grieved. I remember moments in my childhood and those days after my dad died. She was so strong. But some mornings before dawn, when she thought we were still sleeping, I would hear her crying at my door. To not be alone in her grief. So she taught me to be strong, but she taught me to be true. My faith is strong and resolute. But I, early on, felt that I heard, for one of the very few times in my life, I did hear God speak to me. As I said to myself, I can handle anything, God. I can handle anything. I just can't handle not knowing. We can't handle not knowing.
Yeah.
I have to know. And I heard a voice. And it said, you do know where she is. She's with me. She's with me. So whether she is on this earth still, or whether she is in heaven, I know where she is. I know who she's with. But we need to know.
And to have such their strength and unshakable faith when everything around you is telling you to question your faith, to challenge God, to have reasons to hate God, she finds a way to reinforce her strength and her faith. And that is a message for the world to hear. If anything you can get from this case, that is a message for the world to hear.
I mean, Savannah's faith has been on display over the years, but never quite like that.
I don't know if people realize that none of us have had much correspondence with her over this whole 54-day ordeal. So as we're watching this with the world, we're learning and unpacking so much about our dear friend.
Yeah.
And it's hard to process here in live TV in the moment.
Yeah.
But what's amazing is the very source of her pain is the very source of her faith.
Yeah.
And Nancy showing her the path, which is just amazing.
So you get the sense by watching that. Obviously, the grief is just unfathomable. It's hard to watch. It seems like she's found some peace.
I think she's
found some peace.
I think she has found some, but I think she wants the answers too. She says that no one will steal the joy. No one can walk into their lives and steal that joy. But when she talked about the equal parts, like she's seen the best of humanity and the worst of it. She's seen the best of faith that's carried her through. And her mom taught her that, like still teaching her lessons to this day. I learned so many things that I did not know about Savannah in that moment myself. And Nancy especially.
And the thing about Nancy too was she had this wicked sense of humor. I remember saying something to her about a school in Arizona that did not accept Savannah, and she had a pithy remark. That's not repeatable, but with a smile on her face.
I have to say, and since we've all met and known Nancy, to really understand who she is is really special. But we're going to hear a lot more from Savannah. She actually revealed what her plans are, not just returning home here to New York, but returning home here to today. So we're going to talk about that, her future. And then tomorrow night, I'm going to have more from our conversation. It's a special edition of Dateline. It's at 9, 8 Central. We'll learn even more.
We know you're watching, SG. We love you. Can't wait to have you back. Again, if you know anything that could help bring Nancy home, we urge you to call that number on your screen, 1-800-CALL-FBI.
That's the videos. So again, guys, I'll follow up the other videos, of course, but please make sure that you watch them in their entirety first before you watch them here, because I will interrupt them a bit, and I think they need the respect first of watching it full through. But again, the show is Tear Talk. If you guys like, please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. They'll notify you every time I post a video. There's not really much to add to this. It's not my story, just provided some input. All right, guys, stay safe.